I'm actually waiting for an episode that's going to be dry. It's been full throttle for like the whole season. It's just been brilliant. I mean, for any man on any reality TV program, I'm me picnic. Are you telling me that you don't know how to show empathy? Put all that together, yeah, and you've got one big toxic punch. She starts telling us. Get my glass. So, like, how can he not see as a female that like he's basically been like, I don't need to speak to you, woman. Yeah, I don't know whether I can be any more vulnerable with him because I don't know whether I like him enough to be vulnerable. Now, I don't know whether she meant it to sound as cutting as that. Do like a Patrick Swayze and whatever, and like start molding the clay. Well, we're gonna wet her up and like get her all like juicy and. Sorry. What going, people, thems? Okay, so this. You know what's really interesting? Yeah, I'm actually waiting for an episode that's gonna be dry, because I feel like it's been full throttle for like the last week and a half. Like it's just been, in fact, not even just the last week and a half. Like the whole season, I think it's just been brilliant. But in terms of like entertainment for us, not necessarily for like them all as individual good standing people. But in terms of entertainment, it has definitely been an entertaining series. So like this episode didn't disappoint. So episode 22, we see that Sasha and Ross are in crisis, as we mentioned yesterday, and Alex and Holly are also in crisis as well. So the thing is, I don't write anything down. I don't write anything down yet. I've literally just watched it. It's just finished, and I've gone, right, okay, let me hit record. And a lot's gone on. Like a lot has gone on. So again, forgive me if I do miss anything out. So one of the first things I remember is that Holly has gone to Lacey's room and to basically go and speak to her because she's like, I'm not happy. So it turns out that Alex and Holly didn't spend the night together, because after the commitment ceremony, they had a blazing argument, and like she's basically said to him, I don't respect or rate the way that you've spoken about, well, to Lacey I think in particular, but the rest of the girls and stuff. To which point they've blown up. So I don't know exactly how the argument did go, but it resulted in her leaving. But what she said was that one of the things that she said to him was that she was really missing her kids. And he was F this, I can't be asked with this, like, and S'd out. And Lacey's like, I can't believe he'd say that to you. Like, he knows, and I think everybody at this point knows, like, and rightly so as well, that Holly is about her kids. It's me and my pitney them, do you know what I mean? Like, for any man on any reality TV program, I'm me pitney. So she's like, obviously devoed that he said that, and she's like, look, I'm going. You see how the editors are clever, yeah, because they edited it to make it look like, oh, she's leaving the show. Do you know what I mean? Get me out of here. But what she's actually doing is she's leaving for a bit of a pause, maybe to go and see her kids. I don't know, but she's leaving for a little bit, and he's gonna come back because she's like, I'm just not happy. Now, one of the things I rated her for saying, she's just like, it just made me realize that even though that we've been good, we're not always good. So she's gone over to Lacey's to go and have this conversation. Meanwhile, Alex has gone over to Adam and Polly's. Now, I presume he would have gone to Orson's if Orson was still there, but obviously they've gone. And case in point as well, actually, when it started, Emma and Casper were both like, we're going to miss Orson, we're going to miss Rochelle, we're going to miss Hannah, we're going to miss Stephen. They all were like, we're going to miss them all, which I thought was really, really interesting, but I'll come back to them in a minute. So Alex has gone to Adam and Polly, and he's like saying, had an argument, she's gone. It's like, at the end of the day, I'm just not that kind of parental figure. I mean, I've not got that instinct because I ain't got no kids yet. But question, people, right? Question. Because I ain't got no kids. I'm godfather and uncle to a few, but I ain't got no kids of my own. But even if you ain't a parent, are you telling me that you don't know how to show empathy in that particular moment? You've got someone who's going to be your wife, who's told you from the day dot, me and me children's, yeah? You mean to tell me that you don't know in that instance to show some empathy to your supposed life partner and wife? You have to have already barn some pitney them for you to be able to. I just don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. Like, that's someone that's basically trying to say, look, I'm not about that life. He wasn't about that life at the beginning, if you remember. And you know, whilst we're in this bubble and he's not, because just imagine, yeah, imagine the degree of beef that could have been happening in and around having kids to also work out, sort out, deal with their, you know, kid nonsense. Do you know what I mean? Imagine having to deal with all of that and then also having to deal with this, like, ridiculously volatile relationship. And I thought it was really interesting that, like, Lacey and them was like, you know, it's made me feel really like crappy to think that this is how Alex has been talking to Holly the whole time. Even when Lacey was saying that, like, Nathan was a little bit just like, yeah, it's pretty bad, isn't it? Like, it's like, well, it's a bit more than that, because ultimately, like, no one should be spoken to in that way. But I do also think, as much as I'm putting a lot of blame on Alex's door here, I'm also like, listen, like, you also need to be in a situation where, like, you are not allowing that either. So when she's talking about going for a break, I'm like, nah, like, what I was expecting her to say, do you know what? I've actually realised that no good can come of this. Can I tell you what's going to happen, yeah? Like, you have got some crazy physical attraction, right? Which is it's exactly the mixture that you need for a big toxic punch, right? So you get your big toxic bowl and you dash in some, like, outrageous attraction, yeah? Outrageous sexual appetite, some real, like, short fuses, you know, lots of passion, but big personalities, big beef, like, no ability to really talk to each other, really. Both people want to be right all the time, have no real plans for, like, actual decades of life together, because, you know, I ain't a dad, so I don't have the instinct. Like, put all that together, yeah, and you've got one big toxic punch. And I'm like, I rate her for kind of saying, look, I'm gonna step out of this, but you it's temporary. All of this that I was feeling in terms of, like, okay, you kind of moved a corner, that corner move means nothing if actually you've gone straight back to, you know, Monopoly. You know, you must not pass go. Don't collect no £200. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, yeah, okay. If you can't resolve a situation without someone having to literally move back home because they're physically drained, yeah, and this person has kids, to me, that's like a done situation. But he started telling Polly and Adam that basically, like, you know, she can go. I'm not chasing after nobody at the end of the day. Like, she decided she wants space from me. So when she's ready, she's like, I'm not spoken to her since the commitment ceremony. Like, you know, and it's just like, it's that to me. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm built differently, but, like, I feel like I'm always thinking, what if something happened? And maybe it's because, like I've lost my sister. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I always think, like, life is so precious. It's so precious. So you don't really know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like, what happens if you go to bed mad and you wake up and they're not there, and the last thing that you encountered was this ridiculous argument, if you care about them, right? And he's just so blasé about the fact that, well, I'm not contacting her. I'm not contacting her. She left. And it's like, and lo and behold, it's Polly to give the sage advice to be like, yeah, but, like, I shouldn't need to tell Adam that I'm vexed for him to kind of check in and want to make sure that I'm all right. Like, you know, he should already know that I'm not okay, like, and be making some concerted effort to reach out to me. You know, she's like, at the end of the day, it depends on how much you miss her. And he's like, do you miss her? And he's like, you know, I care about Holly. You know, we're good. Like, things are good. And she's like, and I was like, that's not really what she asked you. She asked if you missed her. So he ain't reaching out to her, and she's going home. And it does seem to be that, like, most people finding it easier to deal with the love questions than the hate ones. I mean, naturally, like, it's always going to be a path of least resistance to say, oh, you know what, I like this about you, you know. But, you know, I can't stand about you, though. Like, it's always going to be easier, I guess, to kind of lean into the nice stuff. Amy tells Luke that she doesn't like and kind of feels sometimes that he's not honest with her. Like, sometimes in group settings and stuff, like, you know, kind of putting on, like, this show and a bit of entertainment and whatever. And he's a bit of a showman, do you know what I mean? Like, he is, like, you know, he makes me laugh. Like, I can't remember what it was that he did at the start of the show now, but he did something that I was just like, you are hilarious, man. Like, you are actually funny. And he was like, look, I totally get what you mean. He's like, and actually, I think he recounted some story about him being a kid and stuff, and, like, not feeling like he fit in or he was funny enough or liked enough. So he then built up this persona of being, like, the entertainer and stuff, and how that can sometimes come across as being quite disingenuous, or disingenuous, sorry. And how he can understand how that would make her feel like this ain't the man I went to bed with. Who's this? So it was really cute how he really took on board what she said, and it really like affected him. I can't remember what he said he didn't like about her though. It might then have actually gone to Sasha letting in Shannon. It was Shannon. So she starts telling us about telling us get my glass. So she starts telling us that basically Ross and her had this argument because she was like, look, I think it's really out of order how Alex was with me yesterday. And basically Alex and Ross end up having a conversation. So Alex basically calls him down or texts him or whatever. So Ross goes to go and speak to Alex man to man, which, I think is already still a little bit like, but the beef wasn't with Ross. And I think there is something that says, put it in a different context. Take genders out of it, right? Say it was racial, right? So say for example, someone has had me and someone have had a disagreement, yeah, and because I'm black, right, and they're both white, they still see that actually, you know what, like, I don't need to address you, yeah, because actually my respect for you is subpar. Do you know what I mean? Whereas my respect for this person, because we're the same kin, I can speak to, it's disrespectful. So I completely understand why she feels that, like, almost as a woman, that like she's like, what? So I don't deserve you to come and speak to me, even though the problem that was with me. It's really disrespectful, I think. But anyway, so Ross is going to have this conversation. He said, look, it's not okay how you spoke to Sasha and stuff. And he's like, They end the conversation. We're like, cool, cool, cool. Alex then texts Ross after being like, I will speak to Sasha as soon as I can, which he still hasn't done at the point of this episode, out of respect for you, mate. And then Ross has messaged back being like, yeah, bless, mate, bless up, heart, love, heart, kiss, kiss, or whatever. So obviously Sasha's like, that's muggy. That's muggy. What he's done there is absolutely muggy. And Ross has then been like, what, so what? I can't have no friends and stuff. And she's like, no one's saying you can't have no friends. Like, I'm saying that what he's done there is still being a bit of a bitch to me. Do you know what I mean? And he's like, whatever. So he then starts getting all vexed. And I actually remember him saying, yeah, that like when he's vexed with his family, that and he doesn't want to hear, he'll just not read nobody's lips. He's not reading no lips. He's here. He's over there. And like Sasha's like, this is exactly what he was doing. So I'm trying to talk to him to say, look, I'm not that girlfriend. I'm not the one to be saying that you can't have friends. I'm trying to say that thing right there is a D-head move. He's not listening. So he goes straight to go and drag out his suitcases and whatever. Because he's like, I ain't staying. Home Alone style, taking out the suitcases. Apparently dashes the ring up the wall, yeah, and goes about his business. So he's in no mood to talk to Sasha about what she's saying. He's just gone. Even as she was explaining it, like Shannon's face was just like, what? But we must have all had the same face. Because would you have imagined Ross to be like that? And I'm sorry, yeah, like, and I completely understand that things are pressure cookers. Nobody's perfect. People do act out of character sometimes. They say things that they don't necessarily always mean. Like, I'm not saying that people need to walk a tightrope of perfection, but there's a big jump between a tightrope of perfection and that kind of behavior. Like, so you're not gonna listen to me. You're gonna tell me that, like, I'm telling you, you can't have friends. Like, you're not even gonna recognize that what someone's like, because ultimately, like, if I had to explain to like a white partner, or whatever other ethnicity partner that I might be with, that someone has done something that's made me feel othered like that, like, why am I having to explain that to you, my partner? Like, how can he not see as a female that, like, he's basically been like, I don't need to speak to you, woman. Yeah, it's a bit like that. I'm sure it was Married at First Sight as well. It might be Married at First Sight Australia, and that guy was like, "Muzzle you, woman, bro." Like, are you for real right now? It's giving that same kind of energy. Like, I don't respect you. I don't rate you. Why is she having to educate Ross on that? Like, I don't understand that. So to me, that when she was like, I don't know how he moved past this. He's not moving back in here. I totally understood, because I'm like, I wouldn't want everything now, yeah, from where I was last week in terms of like, yeah, or the day before, about one is live with you forever and all that kind of stuff. All of that, right? I mean, I probably wouldn't have even said that comment if I'm honest, like in an experiment. where we see how things can go. I'm not talking about wanting to live with you forever. Sorry, mate. I'm not having that soundbite come and shame me off in the future. You must be mad. But she did say it, to then see that kind of reaction when you've taken off your ring and dashed it up the wall. Nah, man. I keep thinking is, what must her dad be thinking? What must her big, thick neck dad be thinking? Yeah? Anyway, so maybe Lacey and Nathan, and I thought they'd edited this clip, by the way. So we saw the night before that they were like, oh, she was saying to him, like, hey, what I don't like about you is that I don't always feel that you're that deep. You know, and he's like, what does that mean? And I had to laugh because I was like, that was actually the clip. That was, she said that, and that was actually his response. Like, I just feel like it's a bit superficial. It's not that deep. Oh, what do you mean by that? Like, are you joking? Like, sorry, I'm not laughing at him at all. I'm just like, it's just really. It's like, how do you get to put that kind of clip together? It's just ridiculous. Like, anyway, so he's like, you know, but you know, I've got my ADHD, and you know, I'm not very good with my words. And then he also said, sorry, that you know, but I don't want to just blame it on that. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, there are things that I need to obviously make sure that I am being a bit more present for and stuff. And she's like, you know, yeah, I'm glad you said that, because sometimes I feel like I'm saying stuff and you're just not interested. You know, it was really good for them to have that kind of very honest conversation about where they were at with that and stuff. Oh, and also, when it started, Christina and Kieran are also in a very frosty position, because obviously he said yesterday about, you know, not seeing the longevity of the relationship because of the PMDD. So he's making a cup of tea and stuff, and she's just looking in the distance. You know when someone's just again there, but they're not there. You know, and it's just like, wow, they do seem like they're in a really different space. So yeah, that's really sad to see, actually. Casper and Emma. Casper's hopeful that if they continue to make the strides that they made last week up to now, this week, that they'll put them in a good position. So they're like, okay, cool. Polly and Adam, she starts first. And she's like, and he's like, oh, you know, you're probably going to struggle with this because, and he probably was joking, to be fair. You know, I can't imagine there's going to be that many things for me. And she was like, but wait. One of the first things really is that he's not romantic. That was it. So she was like, you know, you're really good and that you do like, you know, you buy things and whatever. But in terms of being romantic, you're not very romantic at all. And he was like, what? You don't think I'm romantic? And she was like, no. Not really. She's like, you never said that I'm beautiful. And again, like, you know, I think seeing her when she's just focused on her relationship and not in everybody's business, unsent and unwarranted, there is a softness that comes from her that I'm like, okay, this Polly, I can deal with this Polly. Do you know what I mean? Like, this Polly, I can try and find some way to be happy for you. Do you know what I mean? Hearing her say that, you know, you never say that I'm beautiful and stuff, and it's like, these are the kind of things that you want to hear. You know, at the end of the day, we all know what the bedroom can mean. Do you know what I mean? That can just be somebody, as Miss Seeley said in Colour Purple, doing his business. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you don't want to feel like that it's just a, you know, a paint by numbers exercise. You want to feel that someone's like really into you, like, and it's those little things I suppose can let you know that. He takes that on board. And I think he tells her that she's pretty opinionated. And he labours the point as well. Like, he's like, you know, you're pretty opinionated, and, you know, how that can kind of come across to other people and stuff. It's like, rah. Yeah, she takes it on the chin. She's like, I've been told that before. Then I think it goes back to maybe Ryan and Shannon. Ryan's like, he's going to find it really hard to find things he hates about her, because he's like, hate's a strong word, and I really don't hate anything about her. So he's like, your music taste is shocking. But I couldn't tell whether he was saying that she liked Pink and Coldplay and Take That, or if he was saying that he liked Pink and Coldplay and Take That. There's only one Take That tune. Well, actually, there's probably two. Actually, if we go looking at the whole span, two Take That tunes I can let go. Like, and never forget where you're coming from. Look, that's a big tune. Sorry, I don't care what. No, we want. Don't come for me if you want. Don't care. And also, the day could be the very day of our lives. It's a tune. That is a tune. I do like that. Is that them? I think that's them. Anyway, and Pink. I mean, come on, man. Pink gets a pass all day long, every day of the week. Pink gets a pass. Coldplay. They did do the Super Bowl with Beyonce and Bruno Mars at one time, and I enjoyed Beyonce and Bruno Mars. But I do like Coldplay. I think they're not my bag, but I like what they're about. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, she said she hates the distance, like in terms of like the fact that they have talked about moving to Manchester and stuff, but it will be hard for her. But he's like, look, I'll support you, man. 'Cause I know that you're still close to your mum, and she starts getting emotional about her sister and stuff. So I thought that was really sweet. That the things that they hate aren't like real fundamental things. Then it goes back to Sasha and Ross, I think, and then Ross basically comes home. Like, we want to like sort this out and stuff, and get back on track. And at this point, even when he's saying that, I'm like, this must be some big 400-meter relay double round town track that you need to get back on, because this doesn't sound like it was just a regular, oh, I'm leaving, like, conversation. Do you know what I mean? Like, you dashed your ring up the wall. Do you know what I mean? I'm not feeling that he's in. But anyway, so he comes back. She's fuming still, you can tell, and she's like, so now you want to come and sort this out. Now is the time that you think it's okay to talk, yeah? But when I wanted to talk to you yesterday, and you're doing all of this, right? So you can't lip read me, like that was okay. It was like, yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that. Like that wasn't great. And she's like, no, it wasn't great. And actually, like how you made me feel. She's like, how would that make you feel if I did that to you? You came trying to speak to me, and I was like, la 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 la. And he was like, no, that would feel terrible. To be fair, she said, well, that's exactly how you made me feel. Everything you did there, like dashing at your suitcases, dashing at the ring at the wall. She's like, I don't really feel comfortable like with you being in the apartment right now at all, and I don't know how I'm going to move on from this. I'm going to struggle. And he's like, so what do we do then? And she's like, well, I don't know. And he's like, right, I'm going then. And off he trots about his business again. And I can understand that probably, they weren't going to get anywhere with it, but it didn't seem like, I don't know, like I just think there'd be more, like if that had been me and I'd gone on like that, there would be even more. Than I'm just so incredible. Like I don't even know what came over me, like for me to react in that kind of way. It just seemed like he was expecting to go, okay, wicked, back into bed then, come on. Do you know what I mean? Well, that's not gonna happen. That is so. Imagine, yeah, that you're on holiday with someone that you think is really cool, and you've been chatting and everything's crisp and whatever, and then all of a sudden, yeah, they jump off the tour bus that you're on, right, and they start peeing in some random person's car, right, and then they wipe the person's face in it, right, hop back onto the tour bus, sit next to you, like, right, okay, so after the waterfalls, are we? Do you know what you just did? Do you know what you just? It's so out of character of what I expected. Yeah, it's so off the wall. Like, and that everything is just in question. Like, it just reminds me that, like, I don't actually know you that much. He goes back to maybe Emma and Casper, and I think she says it's the intimacy thing and the lack of intimacy that she doesn't like. He says to her that one of the things he doesn't like is, or maybe he goes first. I think Casper goes first, and he says one of the things that I think is a problem really is like our lifestyles are just so different. You're all about your brunches with your girl them and that kind of stuff, and like I'm just happy just to sit at home, chill out with the dog. Maybe he said, and she was like, I'm aware that like I live this vivacious lifestyle. She's like, I wouldn't expect you to have to come along with me to that. Do you know what I mean? And I thought, well, that's quite interesting that you're saying that. But they get a knock on the door from Charlene, and she's like, and everybody knows what Charlene is there for. Do you know what I mean? She's not there to teach you how to play no chess. And interesting as well, what was the game that they were playing at the beginning? I kind of want to say like billiards or backgammon or something like that. It was a game that I don't know how to play, but they sound like old school games. You know what I mean? Like, because I was like, I was like, what? Why is that? So anyone knows what that is, please tell me. And she's like, look, obviously having issues with intimacy. And some interesting things happen here. So she's like, look, we're going to do the melting hug. By now, OG MAFS fans know the melting hug. And she's like, get up and do it and stuff. And like, it seems like it's going really well. And some awkwardness about like how do we hug? I think no. You put your arm around. This is how we do it. Yes. Okay. So they're hugging and they're holding it and they're holding it and they're holding it, and they're both like, it felt really good. He was like, it felt really good for her to lean into me for once, which I think is an interesting thing, isn't it? Because a lot of like people, especially in this whole Andrew Tate culture, when it comes to guys and stuff, have got this whole, it feels like, anyway, I could be wrong, but it feels like there's a very much an anti independent women kind of situation, because like you see all that, it's leaving you all kind of like, you know, without no man and, you know, childless with all your cats and that kind of, that's the kind of vibe that I get from people who think that way. And it was just interesting though that like he doesn't come across as that type of person, unless of course that's where all that OG talk about, you know, what she should look like came from. But he doesn't really come across like that kind of person, and he was genuinely like, it felt really good for her to lean into me. And I suppose like in that kind of relationship between a man and a woman, like maybe there is an innate feeling of wanting to feel like you can provide something for your female partner, and sometimes that can feel like that is made a bit redundant. Maybe that does feed into a lack of desire in that kind of way, because it affects your manhood, your male ego kind of situation. So I thought that was really interesting, if that's the case. And then Charlene was like, you know, Emma, can you do you hear what he's saying and stuff? And she's like, I do. She's like, but the thing is, I don't know whether I can be any more vulnerable with him, because I don't know whether I like him enough to be vulnerable. Now, I don't know whether she meant it to sound as cutting as that, or whether, you know, it was aided by the editing people with the dun dun dun, like, and all that kind of stuff, and then the instant pan to Casper's broken face. But it did feel a little bit like, huh, I don't know if I like you enough. Like, I would have thought she would have said, look, I don't know whether I feel safe enough in order to feel vulnerable with you, because actually, because it was only like 2 weeks ago, you were calling me a hungry hippo. So I don't know whether or not I can kind of get into bed with being all vulnerable around you, because I don't know whether you're going to be there tomorrow, to be honest. But I just don't know if I like you enough. It's a bit cutting, mate, to be honest. Like, and to me, it's a bit of a mixed message, because if you're talking about wanting so badly to jump me and get into bed and stuff, then it would make me go, well, you're obviously not emotionally invested in the physical act of love, like our good man Luke. Do you know what I mean? He's like, yeah, I make love to my wife. For someone like him who does need to be emotionally connected, that does make it seem a bit like, oh, I don't know if I want to get involved in all that. Anyway, he then says, you know, it's a good thing that we're doing all these things, you know, practicing intimacy for like our future relationships and stuff. And I was like, bro, you're currently still rolling with the wife that you just married? Like, do you, bro? And then it cuts to the you know, the sad music, and she's like, you know, it's not nice to hear, you know, practicing for future. I'm like, yeah, but you just said you didn't like him. You just said that, so you can't have it both ways. You can't be all sad with the violins right now, and you were just like, I don't even like him. Like, pick a struggle, pick a struggle. Then I think it goes back to Luke and Amy, and they're doing all the things that they love about each other. So he's decided to take her to this pottery class and stuff, because her grandparents used to take her to do pottery. I don't know whether or not they set it up like Ghost, but that this was his plan. And it is weird, because they have said that the intimacy is at a comfortable level and stuff, and that they're good. So I've gotten the vibe that they are pretty much sailing, that they're really good. But I'm thinking maybe there isn't, because today was the first time that I'd kind of seen the same kind of icky vibes that she was getting from him at the wedding. So he's set this thing up and stuff, and she sat down there with the clay, and he's trying to like distract her so he can like take his top off and stuff and like sit behind her, and do like a Patrick Swayze and whatever, and like, you know, start molding the clay, and he's all like, oh, you know, we're gonna wet her up and like get her all like juicy and sorry. He's gonna like wet her up and whatever, and she's like dying inside, and she's like, look, I don't, you know, I don't know if I feel I don't feel that all that comfortable doing this, and I don't want nothing pressing against my back either. And he's like, oh, you know, like I can sit on your chair and maybe something else, if you know what I mean, like in your face. And she just like, oh, you sound like a serial killer. You sound like a serial killer. I'm like, right, I don't think it's having the desired effect, bro. Then he goes to give her a kiss, and which she wants him to kiss her, but then this whole awkward, you know, I think either he's like staring at her for a bit too long, so there was just not, it wasn't like a 20-second thing. It was like maybe even like 4 seconds or whatever, but it was just long enough for it to be a little bit weird. So then she was like, oh, and then it was just very awkward, and she just kissed me, and then she took her plastered hand and put it. I was like, bro, and she's like, I don't know whether he understands my boundaries. And I think that's a real big thing. Just the same thing with Casper and Emma. And look, just because, like, you know, to the objective eye, Luke looks like this Maltese. I mean, again, he's got a fantastic name, but he looks like this Maltese, like, Herculean god. Like, that doesn't mean that people want all that around them in their business. Do you know what I mean? With cameras and stuff, like, you know, and people watching. Some people just get very awkward about that kind of stuff. And I think whilst he desires her a lot, which is clear, I think he really needs to kind of just, because I think he's in danger of pushing her away and getting her to be like, oh, do you know what, like, this is all a bit icky, and nobody wants that, because once you've got that feeling, it's hard to shake that off. Then I think it goes back to Holly and Adam. Holly walks back into the apartment, and Adam has got like rose petals. Like, he must have bought about 18 bags of rose petals, man, because literally that's like a Beckinese advert. I mean, there was petals everywhere, but it was really cute actually, and you can see that he felt really good about doing this for her. He cooked for her, and she was feeling really giddy, and in that moment, I actually was happy for her. Do you know what I mean? Like, so even though I don't really rate her, I was really happy for her in that moment. And happy for them, because I was like, this is such a turnaround. And he was really like, you know, oh, so do you take back your non-romantic comments and stuff? And she's like, you know, well, it definitely, like, you know, makes the lack of PDA thing, you know, less anything, because this shows me that you care, and that, you know, this is showing me that you care. It's come from you, you know. And he's smiling and stuff, and like, you can really feel there's like a real cutesy romantic vibe in the air. They're starting to do the whole love thing, what I love about you, whatever. And she's like, you know, I love the fact that you're becoming emotionally available, which is, you know, come from where you were to where you are now, is just the biggest shift ever. And that I know that it's because of me that you're doing that, because you're wanting to show me how you feel and stuff, and it's just a great feeling. And he's like, you know, your eyes are like some of the most amazing things. It's amazing how many of the guys went for eyes. I'm not saying it's a cop out, yeah, but the one thing I did hear Nathan say is, like, I could talk about your features, I could talk about it, like, but you know, that's easy. It's dashware. Do you know what I mean? Like, so eyes came up a fair few times today. Your eyes, man, your eyes. And he was like, you know, they're the most amazing things, and they made me feel so calm. You know, the first thing I saw at the wedding day made me feel so. I'm just like, I don't know if you're counting a different wedding day than I saw, but like, it wasn't calm that I saw when you turned around, mate. That was definitely a. But we like cute, so we'll keep it cute. Yeah, when he's talking to the VT, he's just saying that, you know, it's really hard to think about things that I hate about Penny, because there really isn't anything I hate about her. Like, but there are so many more things I do love about her. And then the producer, runner person's like, oh, so are you saying that you love her? He's like, no, I don't love her. But, you know, he said love can't grow. Do you know what I mean? And he gives this smile. And I'm just like, are we actually seeing this unfurl before our eyes, people? That there could genuinely be an Adam and a Polly after this show is done. I'm telling you now, and I've said it before in one of the early episodes, yeah, if this comes off, it needs to be studied. It needs to go into like the Hall of Fame, yeah. Lock it up in some London museum and be like, just pull it out to study, because there was zero hope. And now they're looking like a couple with a couple's night, yeah. I mean, look, okay, let's keep it real. He didn't like fly out to Paris and have Adele sing for her in a Colosseum. Do you know what I mean? Like, that would have been Italy. But, you know, what he did do for him was a big deal for them. Do you know what I mean? And that does deserve some ratings, man. It does deserve ratings. I mean, speaking of Lacey and Nathan, Nathan just tell her that, like, the thing I love about you is your loyalty. And he's like, you know, your girl code, like, you're loyal to me, like, and it's a real good quality to have. And I think that's it's a big thing in it, because most people, they want their ride or die. Do you know what I mean? Which is kind of what Sasha was screaming for us to get, and to provide her. But then Lacey's back to Nathan's like, oh, you know, the thing I love about you is how you allow me to be myself around you. Like, I've never had that with anyone, where I can just be my goofy, stupid, silly, funny, weird self. Like, and I think that's another thing that people want: loyalty, and to know that their most authentic self is not going to scare you away. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Then for some reason it looks like they've told Ryan and Shannon to go sit outside in some blizzard because the wind is flapping everything and they look chilly. It doesn't look remotely warm at all. But they're like, you know, the thing I love about you is the fact that you know, you make me feel so safe. I've never had that in a guy before. I'm just like, why could they not do this inside? It just seems completely and utterly unnecessary, but whatever. And he's like, yeah, you always feel safe with me, man, like always, always, always. And then he also says that he loves about her that she's like non-judgmental and she treats everyone equal no matter what their background is and stuff, and he noticed that from day dot, loves that. And they're both like, right, should we go back inside now, because it's cold, I'm freezing. And I was like, why did you, there wasn't some lobby you could make them go sit down with a cup of why? Anyway, oh, Kieran and Christina. So she said that she's planned a whole surprise for Kieran because she's like, you know, he hasn't been himself, he's been really unhappy, and I really want to bring that smile back to him and stuff. So she plans a whole day, which is a surprise, which is, he knows nothing about. But before they plan that, he comes in with this koala. Honestly, that was so cute. You know what? What's really interesting actually is well, I'll explain my thoughts about the koala in a minute when I get to the end of this little bit. But so he brings the koala, she gets all emotional about it, be like, oh my god. Like, even I was just like, he bought her the koala because she said that she wants him to be the koala animal, spirit animal. I thought that's so cute. Turns out that she's planned a day with his dog Hugo. The dog named Hugo. He's Rotty. Like, and you can just, like, and listen, I'm not an animal man. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just wasn't brought up in that kind of way. Like, I had a rabbit once, got mauled by a fox. It was very sad. But the dog comes round and, like, you know, you can see instantly that he's like, oh my god, and he starts blighting and stuff, and it's proper emotional. It really is proper emotional. They have a day running around like a dog track thing, and he's just rolling around in the sawdust, and she's grinning, they're grinning, everyone's grinning. And then they go and have like what seems like brunch afterwards or food, and like she's also got another surprise for you, and they have their wedding photos from the day. So they're going through the pictures and they're laughing and they're smiling as they're doing, like, you know, one of these like rom-com movies that you see. But there was just something a little bit like soulless in the way that he was looking. By the end of that, he was like, you know, but it's not always sunshine and rainbows, is it? And he's like to the VT, you know, this has been lovely. It's been great. Miss my dog. But, you know, I still feel as I felt yesterday. And I need to be honest with myself. And I now feel like that initial bit of honesty, I feel like has been the gateway to get out of this. I'm now calling it that they're not going to last. Like, I thought yesterday that maybe, okay, you know, he said that, but realistically, he's still gonna be like, I'm not doubting him as a good person, by the way. I think he's still a good person that wants to give it a good go. But I feel like if you're still feeling like that after a day of, you know, being with your dog and being with her and imagining what life can be together with your dog, and I know how a man loves his dog, and you're still not feeling nothing, looking back at your pictures and, you know, when you felt like, I'm saying, love, but, you know, because that's the other thing as well. Sorry, I forgot to mention, when they're making the tea at the beginning of the episode, they also say that, like, he attempted to be intimate with her and it didn't go over. So, you know, we can kind of read between the lines here, like, either that, you know, you've tried to settle down, yeah, and certain masts that ain't standing to no attention, or you've like started, I don't know what that means, but basically, but to say that you started intimacy or tried intimacy, but it just didn't, you know, it didn't finish up. Something don't sound right there. So I feel like it's done. And that's really painful to say because I really thought that they would be the ones. I never thought that this would be an issue for them. But I do think I think it's done. Personally, I'm just calling it. It saddens me too because they're like two little elven, like, you know, people. Do you know what I mean? All glittery and happy and whatever. But I do feel like, you know, Tinkerbell's lost her shimmer. I don't know how they're gonna get it back. So anyway, then it goes back to Sasha and Ross, and basically so Ross then plans a day at a kickboxing place because Sasha loves kickboxing. So he's like, you know, I planned this for her. You know, we really want to get us back on track. You know, I love her and I miss her and whatever. Sasha comes in, and you know, she's clearly still vexed, and she's like, look, I'm so angry from yesterday. Yeah. You know, because I feel like you came in and a lot of the stuff that you said, I'm just like, whatever. Like, but you know, this is something that I really enjoy, and I want to do something I enjoy. You know, so you know, she starts boxing him in the ring and stuff. Eventually, once she's kind of tied herself out and stuff, and they're kind of speaking a little bit, he's like, "Look, you know, I am really sorry for yesterday, but I'm not really good at my words, as you know. So I've actually written you a letter. Now, look, we don't know how this thing is edited yet, but like I saw one A4 sheet of paper with some big writing on there. Now I'm not being funny here because I'm not trying to do down anyone's efforts. Do you know what I mean? Like, but you know, I'm gonna scrutinize Ross's behavior the same way I'd scrutinize anyone's behavior. And for me personally, like I think I don't know. Like I said, she read out what she read out, and it seemed kind of basic to me. Basically, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have behaved that way. It was disgusting. Um, I don't know. I feel like they're just the complete 180 of what I would be expecting from the person that I'm in love with behaviour. Yeah, I would need a Ross and a Rachel situation. Do you know what I mean? 13 pages front and back. Maybe not that much. Like, but you know, just a little. Like, I need you to let me know that you fully appreciate, yeah, what jeopardy you've put this relationship in, or what you could have put this relationship in. But anyway, she's like, that's great. Thanks so much for the letter. You've said everything that I really wanted you to say yesterday, so I'm glad to hear it. Then he's like, what, another surprise for you? And he pulls out this bracelet, and she's like, oh, okay. And he's like, okay, so can I move back home now? And she's like, you know, maybe, we'll see. But she's basically been like, yeah, you know, it's all good. Maybe it's just me. I don't know, but I would need more than that. Sorry, like took off your ring. Like this is not okay. It's just been like, oh, we've gone to bed a bit mad, or we've said like, you know, you've taken off your ring and dashed it up the wall, taken out your suitcases and gone back your business. Like, you know, you've raised your voice at me, like you've not spoken to me, like, and I don't know. I just anyway. So then they get back to the apartment, or it goes back to them being at the apartment. He's again bought some flowers, and again she's like, "Thank you so much," and you know, some balloons, you know, with love and stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's so cutesy, but I'm still just like, you're telling me, yeah, that some flowers and a bracelet is gonna make you erase what you did the day before? Am I being too harsh? Am I being too harsh? I don't know. Anyway, so then they're like, look, okay, so we're gonna go away and we're gonna do the love challenge now. I think it's a good time for us to do it, given the week that we've had. So she's like, you know, go away, really think about it, and think about your top three things, right? And the first thing that he comes up with is that I love your eyes. Eyes are dangerous, man. You're dangerous. I don't know, man. Like I said, the eyes thing seems to be a very common. Everybody's just turned into optometrists. You know what I mean? Like I just love your eyes. And then she says that she really likes that he's a gentleman, and I was just like, have we been watching the same episode? Sorry, I get it. Like, you know, one thing shouldn't just derail everything. But it's a bit like trust, in it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can trust your best friend or someone so much, yeah, and it takes one thing for them to kind of derail that trust, and you will look at them sideways, even if you don't want to. You'll look at them sideways for a while. Do you know what I mean? It takes a while for that to kind of really, really heal itself. And sometimes all the gestures and all the gifts and whatever, it's not about that. It's time. You need the time to almost erase the pain of what happened. Yeah, because all the trinkets and stuff are just like, it's just another example of the guilt. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, she's happy. They're all Chris. I don't think anything else happened. If there is, I can't remember. Then it cuts to tomorrow's episode, and I think they're having like a day away. Like, so certain couples are going to be doing certain things with other couples. I can't quite remember the mix, but I do remember that like Sasha has been paired with Alex. Russ has been paired with Lacey and then a few of those people. So it looks as though that the day is already like kind of beleaguered by the fact that Alex and Polly's in that group as well, has joined them, and Sasha's just like, well, it looks like Polly and Alex are getting in it first. She's basically having some kind of go at him, I think, in this hot tub, and he's basically saying to her that you ain't got no mouth here because only yesterday you talking to switch up your man. So what you need to do, yeah, is just shut your mouth. Ah, dear. Alex is back. And Sasha and him are going out, and she's like, I don't even want to hear from you. I don't even want to hear from you. And she's basically telling him to F off and whatever. And then the next clip, like Lacey and all them, and then taking pictures, and I think Rusty is kind of like in a picture with Lacey, but we don't see the full picture. But it looks as though whatever it is, it's upset Sasha so much that she's absolutely in tears about it. So it looks like there's more drama to come tomorrow. So, you know, there's not even just a nice little, there's some juicy nice bits. No, people are still vexed in this one too. So I can't imagine doing this show, like I said before, yeah, because I feel like even the ones that are great ones have still come out with something, like, because none of us are perfect, are we? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's really, really easy for me to sit here and everyone to sit here and like be like, you should, how could you do. And maybe we would see things about ourselves if we had a camera around us all the time too. I think I said that in my last episode. But there are some things I would like to think that like I just wouldn't do. Like, I don't think I'll go and snake my friend and like try and worm my way in there because I had some tiff, Stephen. Like, I don't think I would celebrate the fact that someone can't go and see their kid on their birthday. Awesome. I don't feel like I'd be screaming at nobody's door in the middle of Mexico. I still haven't got that, Charlie. Even as much as I don't really rate Eve, but and I don't think that I would be happy to speak to so many people so disrespectfully, like, because listen, one of the things that the Britons have got down very well, yeah, is the ability to insult you, yeah, without even so much as raising a voice. Have you seen that clip of Come Dine With Me where they're talking about the prawns on the toast, yeah, and she's basically cussing her for her dry prawns and her dry toast, and that's the reason why you've been able to bling up your table, because you didn't spend much time on actually any cooking. But there's a lot of effort to put a bit of prawn on toast. That, yeah, is like supreme, like British cutting, Downton Abbey cutting. Just started watching Downton Abbey. So, why have you got to be all, I'm gonna F, and are you, like, why has it got to be that? Why has it got to be that? It doesn't have to be that. You can still get your point across without then feeding into this narrative of, as I've said before from the very first episode, this angry, like, blackmail thing. Like, I just hate it, man. And I hate it for him because all the times that we see all the good things, like, it's completely then tainted by the fact that we didn't see these things. I don't know. Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think of this. If you did enjoy this, then please drop me a like and subscribe. That'd be amazing. Thank you very much. And yeah, I guess I'll see you on the next one.